Good morning, it's October 18th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. And if you like the podcast on YouTube, hit the subscribe. On TikTok, follow me. Every day we read a new poll, and the focus is on the swing states. The latest data is saying that the afterglow of the Democratic convention is wearing off, and Kamala Harris's poll numbers are dropping in those key states. There's widespread agreement that Pennsylvania is once an important state for both candidates, and most experts say that the one that wins the Keystone State will win the election. Well, I grew up in the Pittsburgh area of Pennsylvania. I say the area because we moved multiple times, living in both Allegheny County and Washington County. We used to describe Pennsylvania as Pittsburgh and Philadelphia with Alabama in the middle. The metaphor was that the two urban centers of the state were reliably Democrat, and the rural middle of the state leaned more conservative and therefore Republican. Philadelphia is the larger of the two cities, with about 6.3 million in the metro area as compared to 2.3 in the Pittsburgh area. It's the wealthier part of the state, and the city of Philadelphia is decidedly Democrat, where the suburbs lean more to the left than in earlier years. The main line coming out of Philadelphia used to be the country club set that voted Republican. Well, back to Pittsburgh, it's a changing city. With those changes come changes in politics. As a boy growing up, the steel mills dominated the economy. I worked in 3 of them during my college summers. These were all union workers, and that meant, at that time, reliable Democrats. But the steel mills are, for the most part, gone and just part of the region's history. Pittsburgh became more of a financial, education, and healthcare center. It changed the nature of the population and indirectly changed the politics. The focus lies on subdivision-spawned places like Cranberry Township to the north, the bedroom communities of southern Butler County, and the once solid Rust Belt Democrat precincts of Washington County to the south. These areas, many of which have been reliable parts of the Democratic coalition since FDR, are trending Republican in ways that it should alarm Democratic strategists. Democrats won Allegheny County, home to Pittsburgh, plus the 7 surrounding counties by nearly 86,000 votes in 2000. By 2020, despite massive Democratic gains within the city of Pittsburgh, this same region swung to the Republicans by 38,000 votes. In a state decided by razor-thin margins in a recent presidential contest, this 124,000 vote swing is seismic. Cranberry Township exemplifies this change. Once a sleepy rural community, it's now a booming strip mall and chain eatery-lined suburb of over 30,000 people, more than 90% of whom are white, with a decidedly Republican lean. In 2020, Donald Trump carried Cranberry with over 60% of the vote, a margin unthinkable just a few decades ago when union-affiliated Democratic voters dominated the region. The transformation is even more pronounced in Washington County, once the very definition of a union stronghold. Trump won the county by a staggering 22-point margin in 20. This shift extends beyond presidential politics, with local government seeing an influx of Trump-aligned officials, turning county commission meetings into shouting matches on a par with pro wrestling interviews. Multiple factors drive this realignment. Demographic changes play a significant role, as working-class white voters migrate to the suburbs and exurbs, taking increasingly Republican voting habits with them. This pattern mirrors nationwide trends, but is particularly pronounced in the Pittsburgh region through the stark economic and cultural contrast between urban core, heavily dependent on white-collar work and email jobs, and the surrounding area. The fracking boom also reshaped western Pennsylvania's political and economic landscape. In Washington, Greene, and Fayette counties, the natural gas industry has created thousands of high-paying blue-collar jobs. Many of these workers view Democrats as hostile to their livelihoods, perceiving a party increasingly aligned with environmental activists and urban progressives. This perception extends to union households, once the bedrock of Democrat support in the region. Many union members, particularly those in the building trades and energy sector, have become reliable Republican voters, attracted by the GOP's embrace of protectionist trade policies and support for fossil fuel industries. The men I worked with during my college summers would not be Democrats today. They would see a Democratic Party that caters to white liberal elites and minorities and have left the working class voter behind. They would not be supporting the transgender policies pushed by the left. They would not support the abortion on demand at any time in a pregnancy that is demanded by the left. They especially would be angered by the perceived aversion to church-going people by the left. Pennsylvania is a critical state for both campaigns, and while the polls show us a tight race within the margins of error, I believe that in this state, Trump will outperform his polling numbers. Many people being polled will not say they're voting for Trump, but when they cast that ballot, it's in Trump's name that they check. And if I'm correct, the Pennsylvania's electoral votes will fall into the Trump column, and that might be the margin of victory he needs. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.